Day 30 of my 30-day van conversion challenge. Thank goodness it was a sunny day today because it was finally time to build the kitchen. I'd planned to attach each of the cabinet wall sides with 2 pieces of ply along the top that the worktop could also rest on, so I started off with that, and of course it didn't take long for the first thing to go wrong. Firstly, because I'd had to cut an indent for the kitchen sink, it meant the pieces of ply that I had to join up with that section were too big. I decided that I would just do one pocket hole instead so that could work. Then I started to add the drawer slides for my pantry. I was using a piece of wood to try to keep it level, which is a tip that I saw on YouTube somewhere, and I think it worked quite well. Attaching the slides to the cabinet frame was the easy part. It was attaching them to the pantry that was so much harder. The real problem came when I checked to see if my kitchen sink would fit, and it did, but I realised that there wasn't enough space for me to put the tap behind it with the way that I'd positioned it. So I had to undo it all and extend my indent slightly so that I could move the sink forwards to create space for the tap. But then I realized that there was now nowhere for me to screw the top pieces to, so I ended up having to take everything apart and start again so that I could fix them all lower. Thankfully after that it did start to come together. I added brackets to the 2 support beams that were going to go under the kitchen so that I could attach them to the van floor. Then I realised that with the lower top pieces, the pantry unit was now too big to fit in its section, so I had to trim off some of the top of the back. Attaching these drawer slides to the pantry took me way too long and way too many attempts at getting the right height. Then once I'd finally got it right, I could not get the drawer to close into its section. I don't know why. It took loads of pushing and eventually I got it in there, and once it was in, it seemed fine and it opened perfectly. I screwed the very ends into the support beams and then started attaching the back piece with the pocket holes that I'd made earlier. The final thing I needed to do was drill a hole for my fridge cable. Then I noticed another problem with the sink. The overflow drainage hole was opening right onto one of my battens, so I had to cut part of this out. Then I finally got to put the kitchen in the van and install the fridge. I've always had kind of rubbish camper van fridges in the past, so I wasn't really expecting much from this, but there were 3 things that I loved immediately. The door locks itself, so it can't open whilst driving. The top freezer compartment is magnetic, so it stays open, and it came with its own ice cube tray with a lid. My worktop arrived and I desperately wanted to fit it, but it was getting towards the end of the day and I didn't want to make a mistake, so instead I started doing a bit of planning. This is how the van looks at the end of day 30. Come back tomorrow to see day 31.